The second half is here and every game feels bigger, especially with playoff seeding on the line. And every Friday, Fanatics Sportsbook is giving you another reason to tune in. It's called Fan Cash Drops, a free-to-play game inside the app where you could win up to $10,000 in Fan Cash, where every 1 in 4 players will win Fan Cash. Fan Cash is the official loyalty currency of Fanatics. You could use it on bets in the sportsbook or spend it on official team gear at fanatics.com. Win real rewards every Fan Cash Friday with Fanatics Sportsbook. Don't miss out. Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School Pregame Show. My name is Andrew Claudio, and it is time to preview another Knicks matchup, this time on Friday night against the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know how much I'm actually going to talk about this game. The Knicks are 45-25, sitting there at the 3rd seed, striking distance from the 2 seed. The Nets are very bad, 17-52, 5-29, 5-33 in their last 38 games. And I think things would be going according to plan if the 2 teams below them in the lottery weren't a combined 0-29 in their last 29 games. But the last time that I had my guest for today on, the Knicks were actually at a crisis point in their season in which they were 2-9, had just suffered a devastating loss, an embarrassing loss on MLK Day against the Dallas Mavericks. And it looked like if the Knicks had lost this game and ended their winning streak, heads might roll. Someone might get traded. Someone might get fired. The Knicks then proceeded to have the largest margin of victory in their franchise's history. And guess who was in the building for this game? Joining me for today's pregame pod from the midday show with Evan and Tiki, Evan Roberts. Welcome back to Knicks Film School, sir. How was the game, by the way? I haven't talked to you since then.
The game was a disaster, and I'm so honored that every time the Knicks are about to beat the Nets by 55, that's when you call me or text me and say, come on the pod. Come on. Let's talk. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. That's the only freaking time, but I always say yes because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on for this glutton for punishment today. Although I will say, I think I'm doing you a favor today because we're going to go down memory lane. I've been doing these drafts when it comes to like the 3rd or 4th time the Knicks play an opponent because the conversation just becomes the exact same when you're this far into the season. And we've been going over the best players to play for both franchises. And so I texted you interested in doing a Knicks Nets draft, and we'll go through the 10 best players that played for our franchises. Then I looked at the list and said, you know what? We could probably create a 3rd team. So on this very special edition of the Knicks Film School Pregame Pod, Jonathan Macri is going to join us for this show to draft. John, I know you're always down for a draft. We're drafting again here on the Knicks Film School Podcast Network. Jonathan Macri, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How long do I have to wait to address Evan's egregious statement that he made before we started recording?
Go ahead. So banter at the top of the show. He said Evan said his franchise has had a better history than our franchise. And so I will let you guys fight that out for a second.
Here's what I'm going to give you. Greatest player to ever play for the 2 franchises played for the Nets, and that's not a competition. I would say the more you could argue, I don't know that I would argue, you could argue that the second greatest player between the 2 franchises at their peak also played for the Nets. I would probably take Willis over Kidd. I imagine you would say differently, Evan.
Are you nuts?
Like, well, Reed won an MVP.
I understand. Jason Kidd should have won an MVP.
That's fair. I agree with that. I mean,
my God, should have. And he took a team that was a 50-loss team. He comes over and he basically says, "I got this, boys," and leads them to the NBA Finals. And right? What are we talking about?
Curb stomped the Knicks along the way. I was at game 1 of that series. Didn't go well for me. Here's where I'm going to push back. And I just did a little bit of math here, so you'll indulge me. Knicks winning percentage all time as a franchise, 49.1%. Nets winning percentage all time as a franchise, 43.5%. I think 49 is higher than 43. Yeah. Percentage of seasons made the playoffs, Knicks 57.5, Nets 52.5. And here's the thing that and again, this is maybe my comprehension skills. I might be missing something because when I see under New York Knicks and Basketball Reference next to team name, there's only one thing listed and it says New York Knicks. under Brooklyn Nets nested team names. Again, I'm not the brightest bulb, but I see all these words. New Jersey Americans, New York Nets, New Jersey Nets, Brooklyn Nets. I wonder if there's maybe another page where there's another team name somewhere. So how do you reconcile that, sir?
First of all, that's irrelevant. I mean, bringing up the fact that this franchise has this nomadic history is irrelevant to our success, okay? That's number one. Okay. Number two, you have 2 championships, and as much as you guys want to deny it, I have 2 championships.
You do?
We forced a freaking merger. Okay. And if it wasn't for the BS, you got to pay millions of dollars to enter the league. Julius Erving remains with the Nets and is the greatest NBA player in New York sports history. That's what it would have been. Unfortunately, and by the way, you schmucks turned down buying Julius Erving. That's a true story. All right. You let him go to Philadelphia. So I know it's nomadic. I know that we had this drought once entering the NBA of not winning a playoff series. We won 1 against the defending champion Sixers, and that was it until the Jason Kidd era. I get it. But if you look at the consistent winning in the early 2000s, when you look at the back-to-back NBA finals, when you look at the great players that played for our team, when you look at your horrendous Isaiah Thomas-led drought, I think when you look at these 2 franchises' histories, and obviously right now, you're way ahead of us, respect. Like, I'm not going to make that dumb argument. Hopefully we win the lottery and things change, and hopefully the 10th graders that we got in the Mikal Bridges trade pays off, and you'll be hating that trade even more than you do now. But if you look overall at our histories, we're just as good as you. You just have more loud, obnoxious fans. Congratulations.
I resent being called a schmuck for not signing or buying Julius Erving. I'm a schmuck for a lot of reasons, Evan Roberts. That's not one of them, okay? There's a lot of things you could go to for taking 10 seconds to laugh at the Nets when I have the chance to, which, by the way, there's been a lot of laughing I've been able to do this season. We will not bring up how the fan base currently feels about Mikal Bridges. I am very curious to see if he gets drafted today. John, do you have another
one more question
before we get to the draft? Go ahead.
Because he brought up Isaiah Thomas. Can Evan tell me which of the following illustrious names is his favorite lead executive of the Nets? Ed Stefanski, Rod Thorne, Kiki Vandeweghe, Rod Thorne again, Billy King, Rod Thorne again, Frank Zanin, Sean Marks.
Rod Thorne again is very funny. I know he's about to say the name Steve Mills again, though, unfortunately.
Only 2 for
Only two. We got Steve Mills.
Rod Thorne will always have a warm spot in my heart. He brought in Jason Kidd. He ushered in the most successful era of New Jersey Nets basketball. And let me make it clear to all you Knicks fans out there, because I'm very confused by something. I'm proud of the New Jersey Nets. Like, people say New Jersey as if it's a taunt. It's not a taunt. Like, they have a history. And I went to New Jersey as a kid. Like, I'm not embarrassed by New Jersey. I'm also a Jets fan. And even though it says New York at the front of their name, they play and they train in New Jersey. So Knick fans out there, if you want to taunt us, trust me, there's plenty of ways you can do it. Citing the state of New Jersey and our franchise's history there, not exactly a taunt. Just want to make that clear.
Oh,
you're speechless.
No. I was going to ask one more question, and I'm going to save it for the. I'm not going to save it, or I am going to save it for the draft because it might give away something.
I hope you build a great roster. I hope you don't build a roster that you're embarrassed by. I hope you don't build a roster that you can't wait to get rid of. I hope you build a roster that you're proud of, man.
I'm sure John will build the most likable roster possible.
Oh, yes.
Throughout this pod. So we're drafting again. For those who are tuning into the first ever version of this, we do on the pregame pod. We're going to decide a draft order, and then we're going to select 5 players each that played for both the Knicks and Nets. You must have played for the Knicks and Nets at least 10 games over that stretch. So unfortunately, this only hurts me, I think, but Jamal Crawford, who played 1 game for the Brooklyn Nets, isn't eligible for this draft. And there's a couple of other guys that I don't think will affect.
I can't draft Lance Thomas.
So funny enough, John's face. John, actually, I knew that was going to affect John.
Oh, this disrupts my whole draft.
It destroys your whole draft. Now you might have a chance of winning because you're not going to draft Lance Thomas. So
no.
People won't see Lance Thomas and immediately move on. I'm going to decide a draft order now. And to be clear, the criteria you're supposed to select with is relevance to your personal franchise. We're not building the best possible team, not building a cohesive 5-man unit. It's just what they meant to your franchise in particular. My convoluted system that I came up with to decide a draft order, Evan, is high card draw. So we're going to shuffle real quick. Shout out to the fine folks in Las Vegas, Nevada for this deck of cards. Let's see. We'll go with our guest first, John. Evan Roberts, your card is a King of Diamonds. Hopefully you get that kind of luck on lottery night. Jonathan Macri.
I'm still stunned. I dug up Lance Thomas stats.
I know. Would you like to eulogize Lance Thomas's draft eligibility now, if you'd like to?
No, I'm going to wait.
Honorable mention him now.
It might bring someone else onto my board, and I'll bring up the stat then. But continue.
Okay, Jonathan Macri, your card is a 9 of diamonds. Okay, and then my card is a Queen of clubs. So, Evan Roberts, we'll put this thing in order. You're on the left. You get to go first. The first pick, I'm pretty sure we all know where this is going. The first pick in the Knicks Nets draft is who?
I'm very mixed about this because I know you're surprised because I hate you people so much. And
I had a feeling you might go this way.
I want to stick it to you. You know what I mean? So I respect what you said about what I'm looking to do. It's about what you've done for my franchise. And obviously there's one guy far above the others, but there's also someone that's being disrespected. There's also somebody that was pretty damn good for my team, but you people wrap your arms around him like he's yours. He's mine too. And so I eschew all your rules to say F you with the first pick. I'm taking Bernard King, baby.
Taking Bernard 1. Goodness gracious.
Screw all of you. And you can cite all you want about scoring all those points against the Nets. We won that game. Okay? Bernard King was a Net before he was a Knick, damn it. Number 1 pick. How do you like me now?
Not very much, to be honest. Yeah.
What I respect about it is the bookend aspect of it, because he started his career with the Nets and he actually ended his career with the Nets after the second major injury that should have derailed his career. I mean, I respect it because he is the most egregious error from the NBA's various top 50, top 75, and I can't hate on this. Okay,
he was a good Net. That's the other thing. Like I think what bothers me sometimes is that Bernard King is talked about from a little bit older of a generation than me because I don't remember him in his prime because of my age. He's a Knick. Retire his number. Hall of Famer. He's a Knick. Blah blah blah. And I'm always like, when I worked with Craig, I'd always want to poke him and be like, he was a Net first. We drafted him. He was ours before he was yours. And he was pretty good. And I've always tried to like dig deep into what happened, why he was traded. And I think there was a lot of off the court stuff. But either way, he was a very good Net. And he's my number 1 pick. And you guys can't have him. So screw you.
First overall pick, Bernard King, played 4 seasons with the Knicks, 3 seasons with the Nets, as Evan mentioned. Drafted by the Nets, played 2 seasons. Went to Utah, went to Golden State, traded to the Knicks for a player that might get drafted today, and finished top 10 in MVP twice.
Think about this. 13 more games with the Knicks than Nets. That's how close it was.
Staring at it now. Yeah, 206 with the Knicks, 193 with the Nets, averaged 26.5 points per game with the Knicks, 20.2 with the Nets, and a scoring title with the Knicks, and some legendary playoff runs with the Knicks as well. And I would have been my first pick should he have been available to me.
Not my problem. That's your problem.
Okay. We invited a chaos agent to the pod today, unfortunately.
What did you think was going to happen?
Now I'm rattled because now I got to figure out where to go with my next pick.
Why don't you go with Stephon Marbury? Why don't you pick him?
Got to be honest, it's the direction I was considering going with the next pick.
Don't you make Stephon? Don't you dare make Stephon Marbury take a pick of this draft.
You can hold your horses, sir. Where I'm going to go is with a player that won some hardware with the Knicks and was an important part of some playoff runs in the mid-90s. I will go Anthony Mason. My next pick. Anthony Mason only played 21 games with the New Jersey Nets.
That's right.
Had 395 games with the Knicks. Won a 6th man of the year with the Knicks. Made an all-star team with the Miami Heat. But finished top 6 for 6th man of the year 3 different times in 93, 94, and 95. Rest in peace to Mace. Anthony Mason. Do you remember those fondly, those 21 games that he played?
I remember it after the fact. Like
after the fact.
Once he became this legendary Knick, it's like, oh crap. Yeah, I remember that now.
Gotcha. Yeah, went to Was he drafted by Brooklyn? No, he was undrafted.
He was undrafted,
Undrafted and went to New Jersey. Yeah. Yep. And then I went to Denver and then ended up with the New York Knicks. Jonathan Macri, we are snaking. So you have 2 picks here.
Okay. Well, one good screw over deserves another. I will take Jason Kidd.
No.
Wow.
That's bull bleep.
No, here's the thing. If I couldn't sell it, that would be one thing. But just like you were able to sell Bernard King, I could very easily sell Jason Kidd because there was, for as much as I love the current era of Knicks basketball and for as important as it is to me and to Andrew and to Knicks fans everywhere and to Knicks Film School, and for as much as I do remember and love the 90s, and Anthony Mason would have been my first pick without question if he wasn't just taken. There was a very dark period, Evan. I don't know if you know this, but the Knicks were bad for the better part of 2 decades.
Best time of my life, yes.
And was the worst time worst time in my sports life because the team that I love the most absolutely was putrid. And for that reason, for as much as I kind of poo-pooed the 12-13 team because, were they real contenders, this and that, it was only a flash in the pan. The importance of that team in the context of the surrounding excrement of the other 2 decades, or those 2 decades, was so vital. And I think you could make a good argument that Jason Kidd was as important to the success of that team as anyone, because guess what? A lot of the other guys on that team were there for other years when they weren't as good. Karl-Anthony, Tyson Chandler, so on and so forth. Bring in Jason Kidd, a leader, maybe not as much impact on the court as off the court in the locker room. A lot of good memories from that year for Jay Kidd. So I don't feel any qualms whatsoever about taking Jason Kidd with my first overall pick.
You didn't say anything about trades. What if I offered you Bernard King for Jason Kidd and we can right the wrong and just call it a day?
I was going to say, Evan, if you want to add the context, what does he mean to the New Jersey Nets franchise? What did he do with them?
He means everything. And here's the proof of how
enough. Does he mean enough to be a first pick, or would you go a different direction?
No, I would totally. I thought I had you. I thought there's no way you could take Jason Kidd because of how it ended. Like, it ended pretty badly. Like, I don't want to say no-showed the playoffs. He tried. He was done. He was cooked. It was over.
He was done.
And so I had hoped that would cause you to not take him, and then I could double back with Jason Kidd. But now that you've done this, I would absolutely realize that you can take Bernard King and we can call it a day.
You want to swap?
I would absolutely.
We can swap. Okay.
There you go.
There's
John
a swap.
now has Bernard King.
We trolled each other, okay?
It's like you just traded Markelle Fultz for Jason Tatum. Like, who had the original pick, by the way, in that? Never mind.
The Nets pick is Markelle Fultz. Are you guys aware of that?
I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, that's how I was saying it. Yeah.
It's not Jason Tatum. People like to say that. Now, look, the Celtics still don't get Jason Tatum without our pick, obviously. But no, the pick that we traded was technically Markelle Fultz. Good call.
Yeah. For whatever it's worth, Jason Kidd finished, Andrew, inside the top 30 in our top 25 voting this summer.
He finished, I believe we did an honorable mention episode. For the pods we did this summer, Evan, were the top 25 Knicks of the past 25 seasons. And we did our whole staff, did voting. We did 25 different episodes for the top 25. And I believe Kidd fell. We have the spreadsheet. I could look it up. Kidd fell in honorable mentions, and he got brought up mostly because what John's mentioning, making that 2013 team work was, part of his influence.
Jason Kidd as a Knick bothers me to this day. Like, it's one of those things that I was at a mall recently and I saw someone wearing a Jason Kidd Knicks jersey, and I had to go over to him. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "That's my guy." And the testament to how important he was to the franchise's history is, number one, he's not a good guy. All right. Number two, he left the Nets in the middle of the night as head coach. And I'll never forget, I said to my wife, I think we were dating at the time, I said, "I'm so devastated by this, but give it 6 months. He's still my hero." Because he did so much on the floor. And by hero, I mean on the floor. Obviously, he's not a good guy. He's a snake. He's every negative thing you can say. But he did more for a team I root for than anybody else in my sports life. There is not a Met. There is not a Jet. There is nobody who did more for a team I root for than Jason Kidd. So you're damn right I'm going to take my troll and put it away. Take Bernard King all day. Give me Jay Kidd.
Jason Kidd ended up 29th on our list, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
So with
your second pick, Don.
Yeah, with my second pick, I am not going to mess around. I could really try to put the screws to Evan and take another guy from the 12-13 Knicks, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to take a guy who, unfortunately, due to a second stint with the franchise, not as a player, his good name was somewhat sullied because he was remembered fondly for being a key piece of some very, very good teams back in the 70s. He actually, to this day, has still fifth on the all-time franchise games played list. And I'm going to take Phil Jackson.
This is why I love inviting you to pods like this. So you can take the guys from the 60s and 70s, so I don't have to go back that far to the era of 9 and 10 teams in the NBA.
There
draft players.
The list of players who have played, in fact, it's probably a very, very short list of players who have only played for the Knicks and the Nets. I know we have all these guys who were drafted who played for the Knicks.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Last 2 seasons with the Nets, and then he retired.
732 games with the Knicks and 3 years as a team president. 75 games with the New Jersey Nets in 1979-80. Phil Jackson made it to the pod today.
Wow.
I know you said you put your troll hat away, Evan, but I now have to play a little bit of defense because you have 2 picks here, and I have no idea where you're going to go with your picks. So I'll just tell you, I'm not taking Kenyon Martin. I'm not going that direction. He will be yours if you want him. Okay. But I don't know what you're going to do with your other pick, and I don't trust you flat out. So I'm going to take Jeremy Lin with my next pick to make sure that he doesn't end up in New Jersey over there with, I don't trust you. You've got me officially shook. Jeremy Lin had arguably the best or the most fun 3 weeks in Madison Square Garden that we had seen outside of the following season when Carmelo Anthony showed us what it's like to actually make that sustainable. But Jeremy Lin, we're coming up on the 15-year anniversary of Linsanity next season. I will make sure that he ends up on my team so that way he doesn't end up on anybody else's team that may be a Nets fan. Jeremy Lin with the Knicks played 35 games. How about this? 37 games he played with the Brooklyn Nets.
Wild. Oh my God.
Actually played more there. So Jeremy Lin will be my next pick.
We could have been drafting for 6 hours. I was never going to take Jeremy.
Brother, you played the game well. This is Game of Thrones. I don't trust you, Cersei. Okay. I'm very ready for you to take whoever now. Go ahead.
Keep this in mind. Bernard King was a really good net. And so it's more about, hey, show respect for what he did in New Jersey. He doesn't get enough credit. I have no ill will towards Jeremy Lin. I don't know him as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy. But the idea of Linsanity always bothered me. And when the Nets signed Jeremy Lin, I didn't like it. I didn't want him on my team. And then he got hurt like basically immediately and barely played. I mean, you mentioned the amount of games he played. So I don't have a positive feeling towards Jeremy Lin. And I also don't have a positive feeling towards you guys and the way you talk about him because I think it's disrespectful. I mean, he had a good 3-week run. He didn't play in the postseason. And then the following year, you guys went over 50 games. And it seems like Knicks fans talk more glowingly about a 3-week stretch than you do the following season, which you actually were legitimately good. And as a basketball fan, as an IBO, as I like to say, an independent basketball observer, I'm deeply offended by that.
So this is where I have to defend myself. I am the resident defender of the Melo 54-win season at Knicks Film School.
Wow.
I also wanted Jeremy Lin to be in our top 25 for 25. Guess who missed the cut because 3 people had him in the 40s? Because not every Knicks fan talks about Linsanity that way, Evan. So
it was 3 weeks. Like, what are we doing? It's the most pathetic thing your franchise's fan base has ever done. And honestly,
John, you're the resident Jeremy Lin defender and friend of the pod, Jeremy Lin, which is the other reason why I took him. You've had him on the show before.
All I'll say is if you were a Knicks fan during that time, you will never forget it. That's all.
Yeah, but I want to make this clear because I want to show you an example on my side where I can be fair about this. In 2019, the Nets had an incredibly fun season. I mean, it was so many great comeback wins. Remember, they had they were losing so many brutal games early. Then they had the long winning streak and they made the playoffs. It was so much fun. And they were building something really good. And then they lost in 5 to the Sixers. They won game 1. They lost brutal games at Barclays Center and then got annihilated off the court in game 5. And while it was a fun season, and I will certainly tell you it was fun, yay, we're building something, it bothers me when Net fans look back at that. It's like, oh, that was special. It was special. We got knocked out in the first round in 5. And they're like, can you believe we went after Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? Yeah, because they're good. So
John, go ahead.
Totally fair. totally fair, but you guys did have an all-star that season, and it was a guy who was the former number 2 pick in the draft. What made Linsanity was like, imagine if the Nets, signed you tomorrow to finish out their season, and you went out and averaged 20 points, which actually the possibility of them signing you for the remainder of the season, not that far-fetched. So
No.
They never made a movie about the 2019 Nets. They made a documentary, and we were lucky enough to be part of the press run, which may all have influenced my pick.
But that's my point. Like, yes, I get the Nets aren't as popular. Like, I will never argue that. I just get mad at some of the fans who overrate something in our history where there was not that much success. That's
totally
what I'm
fair.
talking about. It's
Totally
the same
fair.
thing.
Yeah. John, was this like also, aside from being afraid of Evan taking him, I think it's also a defensible pick when you're talking
I would have taken Lynn.
like the magnitude of what he actually meant between the two franchises.
Sure.
I think so.
I was worried about who you were going to take, and I'm going to make it clear. I'm going to take. It's not Kenyon Martin because I was never worried you were going to take Kenyon Martin.
Okay,
and I will take him. I'm about to make back-to-back picks.
Right, go ahead.
The first one I'm going to take that I was genuinely worried about was Buck Williams because, like, he was there for a couple of years. He was there when you guys were good. He was almost like the mascot at the end of the bench, and it would have been incredibly disrespectful for a guy who owns many records in Nets history, including his number being in the rafters, for that guy to not be drafted by my team. Now, what's funny about Buck is that I don't remember him as a Net. Like, that's the weird part. Like, when I started watching basketball, he was playing for Portland. And my dad was like, he was a Net, and he was pretty damn good. And then I see the numbers and, of course, the number retirement. So I never got to see him. So there isn't that, like, personal emotional attachment to him. But I respect him. And when you look at the record books in Nets history, he's all over it in NBA history. So I couldn't have you guys picking what was basically a mascot for you. And for me, was a guy who is a big part of our franchise's history. So to me, it's a no-brainer that it's Buck Williams as my second pick.
Yeah, John.
All due respect, a little bit more than a mascot. Started a playoff game against the Miami Heat that year, a series that we don't need to go into details because.
Well, you brought it up, so not my problem. You brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
But
Why do you start a game? Why do you start a game in that series?
I don't remember.
David Stern is a jackass. That's why.
So you're celebrating. Let me get this straight because I'm confused. You're celebrating him starting a playoff game because of what you guys deem as an egregious suspension by a commissioner. That's what you're celebrating?
No, but even before the suspensions, he was already playing an important role on that team in the first round, which was, of course, a sweep. 13 minutes, 24 minutes, 20 minutes. He was a real player for that team, and I'll always have a soft spot for him because he came to a Knicks camp that I went to when I was a kid. Nicest guy I've ever met.
He's a nice guy.
I agree on he needs to be on Evan's team more than ours. The first Knicks team I ever followed was that 97 team. So
I get that.
That's where I can also have a soft spot for him. He's in a very long list for me. And look, just to throw some numbers out there, 115 games with the Knicks. There's 635 with the Nets. You now have, Evan, between Jason Kidd and Buck Williams, the top two players in win shares available for your team today.
Well, isn't that the point of the draft?
It is.
Winners and guys who did a lot for my
makes it curious why you chose Bernard King first as your pick.
A couple of things. I rectified it by making a very fair swap earlier in the draft. And B, I'll walk you through my thinking. I didn't think you guys would take Jay Kidd. So I figured I'd get Bernard King. And then on the way back, I get my hero. Like, confirm this. If I took Jason Kidd 1, were one of you guys going to take Bernard King? You would have 2 cracks at it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Listen,
so
Billy King would be proud with your front office manovering. Okay.
Don't never bring him up.
Right? I know.
You have another pick.
You have another pick.
I know I have another pick. This one's obvious. Obviously, it's Kenyon Martin. I think what's unfortunate about my feelings towards Kenyon is I try not to think about losing him, but that's all I think about. And how pissed off I was that they allowed, really it was Bruce Ratner, allowed that core to be broken up. But what I'll never forget is I went to Kenyon Martin's return game, and you guys can mock the crowds in New Jersey all you want. It's quiet, it's Brooklyn, it's this, it's that, whatever, New Jersey, Brooklyn, you guys like to do it for both, even if it's not true, and that's okay. Truth doesn't matter, so it's fine. But when Kenyon Martin came back as a Denver Nugget, I was sitting in the upper deck at Continental Airlines Arena, and that place moved with Kenyon Martin chants. And remember, he was only in net for a handful of years. It wasn't exactly the longest run ever, but It hurts me that they let him go. I know it led to Vince Carter. I get it. I have this fantasy that we could have been in a world in which Kenyon Martin and Vince Carter were on the Nets. Like, that's this weird fantasy that I think could have led to an NBA championship. We never got that. But Kenyon is a Net I adore. He was tough, man. I think of what he did to your boy, Tim Thomas. Unfortunately, I don't want to think about Game 6 against the Spurs, which was, like our John Starks game. That's where we can have some similarities. Different players, but bad performance. But I love Kmart, and he has to be on my team, and now he is.
Gets the benefit of, because a lot of years, if a team drafts a guy that had Kenyon Martin's career first overall, there might be some that's not really what we want from a first overall pick. Thankfully for Kenyon Martin, that is arguably the worst draft in the history of the league. So I don't think any Nets fans look at that as a missed opportunity.
You're right. I'll tell you what it is, and I'm dealing with this year. The Nets have won the lottery twice in their history, right? Derek Coleman and Kenyon Martin. And both were good players. Like, no one can say that they're bad or busts, but they weren't the generational franchise-altering player that you dream of when you win a lottery. And so I've been waiting a long time. Obviously, you guys don't have to worry about it, but you were waiting a long time to win a lottery. You just want to hit with a guy that changes everything. And I love Kenyon. He didn't change everything. He was a really good player. Jason Kidd changed everything. So the disappointment in Kenyon isn't the draft. It's just when you win the lottery, you have visions like, obviously before our time, but Patrick Ewing. Like, it changed your franchise, and that's what you want when you win a lottery.
I remember when the Knicks signed him in late 2020. It was 2012-13, right? So it was late 2013. Mm-hmm. And they went on that mini run.
Yep.
And that's when they had the winning streak. I believe it reached 11 or 12 games at one point. And all the talk was like, they finally found the backup 4/5 that will make this roster work. And there was always the concerns about Amari and his injuries and will he play? And then you just had, like, similar to Josh Hart, like a dirty work guy toward the latter part of his career. It's appropriate that he ends up on your team. Where I got to go with my next pick, I actually don't know if you were ever going to take him, John, but in my personal record book, he does have some high regard. And I got to say, doing the 25 for 25 this summer actually allowed me to do the research and what went wrong when the Knicks traded for him and all the things around him. And you had an all-star point guard, and you decided, let's trade for Jamal Crawford and Eddie Curry and Steve Francis. And he holds a lot of responsibility for how his tenure went wrongly too. Don't get me wrong, but between all the different coaches that ended up not liking him and all the different front office executives that didn't know how to build around him, I will take Stephon Marbury with my next pick and feel A-okay about it. And I got to say, one of the best parts about this Knicks resurgence over the past 5 years is the healing powers that winning can have. And this Knicks alumni group that just all of their resumes get washed away. And you can have Carmelo Anthony next to John Starks, next to Stephon Marbury, next to Patrick Ewing, and they're all Knicks legends. And Tim Thomas ends up being there too. And I'll just add, I don't know, you may have been in a different tax bracket back then, but the Stephen Barry sneakers that he that he made available at the Stephen Barry clothing stores, as a broke 19-year-old working retail, and I worked at a sporting goods store that sold Nikes, and I couldn't afford them. I would just go across the street to Stephen Barry's, and I had a collection of Starburys that I wore everywhere. So Stephon Marbury will end up being my next pick.
Evan, you have any fond feelings towards Steph?
I was thinking of taking him, believe it or not, because I don't have negative feelings towards him. It's odd. Like, we didn't win with him, but he was exciting. He was really good. He was enthusiastic when he was traded from Minnesota to the Nets. I'll never forget. He called up Mike and the Mad Dog, like screaming and yelling, "I'm coming home. I'm so pumped up." And even I didn't have delusions that he was a Nets fan, but I think he was just excited to be home. He was a really good player. And I've said this before. This may shock you. I was not thrilled when they traded him for Jason Kidd. That was my first reaction. I was very concerned. I knew about Jason Kidd's transgressions. He was a little bit older. I knew he was a good player. Don't get me wrong, but Steph felt different. It felt like a superstar in a lot of ways. And so I think a lot of the negative treatment or negative views we have on him is what happened with you guys, because you guys didn't win, and obviously the off the court stuff. But to me, I'll be honest with you, I was going to select him because I don't have negative views towards Steph. He was a solid net. And the other thing that probably adds to the positivity about him is he was traded for Jason Kidd. Like, it's the greatest trade in the franchise's history. And even though I admit I wasn't in love with it at the time, it worked, and it wasn't his fault. So I got nothing but respect for Steph as a Net. So good pick by you.
I have said before, the most excited I have ever been as a Knicks fan, because I was very naive at the time, was like the opening run that Steph had with the Knicks after he was traded here, because I was like, oh, wow, this is what a top 10 NBA player looks like. And he did look like that from time to time.
Real quick, that must have looked very weird, because that run when Steph got traded to the Knicks was led by Stephon Marbury and Keith Van Horn.
I'm aware. It must
look very weird. They got off to like a 7-5 start. And it was like, oh, wow, the Knicks might be good.
It was bizarre, but keep this in mind. And I very rarely have had this feeling. I knew my team was so much better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was almost like, oh, this is cute. Yeah, keep winning. I was like The Rock with the hand medic. Come on, bring it. No, win some more. No, keep winning. Keep winning. I know I'm going to pummel you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you did.
How'd that playoff run end, by the way? What ended up happening after you swept?
Are you serious? You want to know what happened?
What happened?
You know, or are you being a jackass?
I don't know exactly.
We lost one of the most painful 7-game series to the Pistons. I still get pissed about losing Game 6 at home. Of course, they had the classic road win with Brian Scalabrine. We call it the Scalabrine game. But Game 6 at home was the one they blew it. And then Game 7 was a non-contest. Jason Kidd was on one leg. The only thing that makes me feel better about that series is that Kidd was more hurt than we realized. So even if they had beaten the Pistons, they were going to get smashed at some point. I think it was Miami in the next round.
The Pacers. No, it was the Pacers. That's the year they won the title, yeah.
You're right. My apologies. It was Indiana versus Miami, and then Indiana won. The reason I think that is I was down in Florida, and I think I was scouting going to Miami. Am I remembering that correct or no?
No, so the Pistons ended up winning that. That's the Tayshaun Prince block.
No. I know the Pistons. I'm talking about the Eastern Conference Finals.
You would have paid. That's what you're saying. You would have played the Pacers. Yes.
And I think Indiana beat Miami. But my point is, we would have lost at some point
to Indiana anyway. Got it.
Probably because Kidd was on one leg. He couldn't move.
So is that similar to, like, there's a movement of Knicks fans? One of them might be on the pod today that think if the Knicks get past the Pacers 2 years ago, they also then get past the Celtics, whereas in reality, Brunson had broken his hand. No. OG Anunoby was on
No, I'm saying if those injuries didn't happen.
Well, under Tom Thibodeau, if injuries don't happen, is not something.
No, stop it. All right, enough of this.
I'll tell you this. I'm sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
The Kevin Durant year, the foot on the line, all the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
I think we would have lost in the next round or the finals, too. Like, everyone says you would have won a championship. They were. James Harden was on one leg.
Well,
Tyrese was gone.
You weren't losing to the Hawks.
The Hawks is the only pushback, yeah.
Guys, I understand they were flawed. Do you understand how injured the freaking Nets were? And Kevin Durant was playing 45 minutes a night. He would have made Sienna look and blush after they played all their kids every minute. Like, I get it. We were better. Don't get me wrong. I'm skeptical. So I'm saying that we would have just cruised to an NBA championship considering the state of the Nets at that point. That's all I'm saying.
Don, you have 2 picks.
Yes, and I will just say very quick on Kenya Martin. In the Game 6, the Roy Hibbert block game, there was one Knick that had a positive plus-minus in that game, and it was Kenya Martin plus 10 in a game that they lost by 7. So shout out to him. All right, I'm going to stick to the bit because it's what I do, and I'm going to take a couple old guys. First, Michael Ray Richardson, who is the greatest or the best defensive Knick player since the championship.
I was going to take him. I swear.
Look, and it has like steal records and has some of the more eye-popping stats in Knicks history. And unfortunately, the team was not. It's not that they were bad during that time, but they just they didn't really make any real noise. So he kind of gets lost in the shuffle of Knicks history. And then
hold on. I want to add more color to the Michael Ray Richardson. So he in his second season, became the 3rd player in NBA history to lead the league in both assists and steals, recorded 18 triple-doubles, the second most in franchise history. Unfortunately, similar to the Stephon Marbury on the Nets thing, what he's known for is being traded for Bernard King. Unfortunately, what else he's also known for, when he was drafted in 1978, he was deemed the next Walt Clyde Frazier, and defensively, I think he had that reputation, but he was taken 2 picks ahead of Larry Bird. So Very good, Nick. Very productive, Nick. Unfortunately, has those two anecdotes to his resume.
And yet, for all the bitching and moaning we hear from Knicks fans about this, that, and the other thing that has gone wrong in our history, you don't often hear, even from the old heads, like, oh, we could have drafted Larry Bird, because Michael Ray was that good when he was at his best, which unfortunately was not probably for long enough. All right. This is a real pivot point.
Going one real quick, played 208 games for the New Jersey Nets.
And he was also, and the reason I was going to take him in seriousness is he was on the 84 Nets, which is that one team I alluded to earlier that actually won a round before the Jason Kidd era when they upset the defending NBA champion Philadelphia 76ers, and he was a big part of it. So you stole a pick of mine. Good job by you.
I don't think I'm stealing anybody's pick here. I actually, well, maybe Andrew. I don't know. I'm going to take Bob McAdoo, who just barely meets the qualifying criteria because he played exactly 10 games with the New Jersey Nets in 1981. He has the highest scoring average in Knicks history at 26.7 points a game. Brunson was like on the cusp. I think he was ahead of him for one or two games this year, and then he fell back. Again, similar to Michael Ray, it's a time that does not get talked about much in Knicks history because they were not that good, although they did make the playoffs with Bob McAdoo. We have two former MVPs that played for this franchise. One's Bob McAdoo, the other is Derrick Rose. So I'm going to take one of them.
I figured you would. Bob McAdoo, anytime I have to go look at Knicks history, that exact anecdote that he's one of the only two former MVPs to play for the Knicks that's not named Willis Reed. So
yes, other than obviously Willis Reed.
Yes. And then, like you said, 10 games for the Nets. So there's not much. I doubt it ever gets brought up, Evan, that Bob McAdoo played for the Nets, does it?
Not much. No,
not much. So with my next pick, I'm reaching here, but because I know that there's no chance either of you are taking this player, but I also know that I might want to take him now because the stock is dropping. And you never know if I wanted to do this draft in the future, will it be able to? So here's how I'm going to justify taking Mikal Bridges. I'm going to do what the Knicks should have done in 2018, and I'm going to draft Mikal Bridges. Is that a Mikal Bridges bobblehead that you have on your net?
So
on the Nets,
I had a colleague at my school that I used to work at who had Nets season tickets, and she got this Mikal Bridges Nets bobblehead, and she gave it to me. She's like, "Hey, do you want this? We have like a bunch of them lying around our house." I guess she couldn't sell them on eBay for I can't imagine why. And yeah, I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll take it." So I have it.
That's amazing. And here I thought like me taking him fourth would have been the surprise. No, a Mikal Bridges bobblehead appeared on this pod today. Enough conversations have been had about Mikal Bridges on this pod. I will just say the Knicks went to their first conference finals in the last 25 seasons. Last year, he had two very important defensive plays in the Boston series, which by odds, shout out to our friends at Fanatic Sportsbook, is one of the biggest upsets in NBA history. So yeah, I will at least be able to have that. And as Jeremy likes to say, the rest is still unwritten about this upcoming postseason. So we'll see how the rest of this season goes. But Mikal Bridges will be my next pick.
And the rest is unwritten in terms of what I end up for him. I mean, you mentioned earlier about Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum. Like that trade the Nets made with the Celtics is all time because we're still feeling it. You're still feeling it. Like we're all still feeling it. Obviously, there's a lot more time for that to be determined. But I think that's going to not change your view, but it will impact your view. Like if we end up winning the lottery with a Knick pick because you guys are bad in a couple of years, it's going to change things. It's going to make it worse, no matter how you feel now, or better if it turns out to be nothing. And yes, you guys have success. So and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I would argue that if they lose in whatever fashion they lose, and this summer, and they decide they want to go for Giannis. And the reporting comes out, and they don't get Giannis, and the reporting comes out that the reason is because the Bucks just couldn't justify trading him without a massive pick package, and the Knicks didn't have the pick package. I would argue that even if you guys win the lottery in the future with one of those picks, it will not hurt as much as the Knicks being unable to get Giannis this summer because of the opportunity cost.
I am not espousing this. I am just telling you, I know my franchise. I know the way they think. It would not surprise me if they get a top 4 pick, top 3 pick. They get this young player that they want. that they take their other assets, which I mean your picks, and they trade for Giannis. And I think that would sting for you as well. It'd probably sting for me because I don't want him, but it would probably sting more for you.
Can I just remind everybody, Giannis is on his 4th lower body injury this season?
Yes! That's why I don't want him. I don't want him.
The Giannis sweepstakes is so much less attractive than it was this summer. Like, love Giannis, think he's one of the greatest players of all time, one of the best when healthy, but that when healthy is now very bold at the moment. Like, I gotta be honest, I'd rather be in the Kawhi sweepstakes this summer at this point.
Oh,
I understand.
That's bolder than your Bridges pick.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in neither sweepstakes. I want to build.
Well, what you want is to be in the AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson world. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I want.
You have 2 picks, Evan.
My 2 pick. Number 1, Keith Van Horn. What's conflicting about Keith is that he was the number 2 overall pick. We traded up for him. And so the hope was superstar. That was the hope. That was the belief. He was not a superstar. He was a good player. And sometimes you're kind of a prisoner of where you're drafted and the expectations that one has for you. I've seen that a lot in football. Like, Leonard Williams was a good Jet, but he was taken way too high. Things like that. But he was a good player. I liked him. And he was a part of that kind of fun, unbelievable, I can't believe we're going to the NBA Finals team in 2002. They traded him with the right intentions. Because if you recall, they dealt him for Dikembe Mutombo with the thought being, we need a big to match up with Shaq. Now, we didn't see Shaq again because they didn't make the NBA Finals. And Dikembe Mutombo was a mess as a net. I don't think either one of us thought about taking Dikembe Mutombo.
Wasn't much better as a Knick.
I know. He doesn't qualify for this draft. But Keith was a good net. I mean, he was solid. And, especially when you think about the guys that played for both teams and you say, all right, who are the better players? He is certainly up there. So easy to bring Keith Van Horn home.
Gotta say, I have very quick memories of Keith Van Horn. It's very much attached to the Stephon Marbury trade and those 3 weeks that were fun. And then they traded him for Tim Thomas. And now Tim Thomas comes to Knicks games as a Knicks alumni. And I don't feel weird about it at all. What you mentioned about trading for Mutombo, you're the second team that traded for Mutombo to try to stop Shaq in like 4 months because the All-Star game happened and Mutombo had like 15 second half rebounds in that game. And it was like a big Eastern Conference comeback. And the Nets and the Sixers said, hey, Larry Brown, because he coached that game, because of where the Sixers were, said, we need to trade for him so he could help us stop Shaq if we make the finals this year. And then they end up losing in 5 in the most gentlemanly of gentlemen sweep ever. And then the Nets did the exact same thing. Alonzo Mourning, yada, yada, yada. The rest is history. Good intentions, even if it doesn't work. Bringing Alonzo Mourning in was the same thing. Now, I've also heard that they needed to bring Mourning in to keep Jason Kidd. That Jason Kidd was ready to go to San Antonio. Okay. And Jason Kidd had a chance to be Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant was Kevin Durant. Because if he signs with the Spurs right after losing to them in the NBA Finals in 6, I mean, that's after back-to-back trips. Yeah, that's Kevin Durant on steroids if he would have done that. But luckily he didn't. And he came back and was at least in net for a few more years. John, do you have anything on Keith Van Horn? He was they traded my favorite Knick of all time for him. Oh, so Sprewell. That's right. He was not going to get drafted by my team. Gotcha. Evan, you have one last pick. And speaking of Kevin Durant, there's a player that I think you should draft that I'm just going to say it. I think you should draft him. I'm curious where you go based on what's available left. There's a player I think you should draft, but it all depends on how you think back on the Kevin Durant era. Well, I've made my decision on the pick. Okay. I will tell you that I was eyeing Michael Ray Richardson. He took him. I respect it. The guy I'm going to take, and I don't know if this surprises you because I have no idea what you think of this guy, but he was built up. Sometimes it's the hype. It's like the WrestleMania main event. If you build it up for a long time, it gets bigger, bigger, and better. And that's Bojan Bogdanovic, because we drafted him and stashed him for multiple years. Is that not the guy you were thinking of? So the guy I was thinking of was DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan spent 19 games with the Knicks. 19 games with the Knicks, and then went back to his buddies, KD and Kyrie, and said, you can't go play for that dumpster fire. The Nets were just the 6th seed. You should go play there. I don't buy that. And then the summer of 2019 happens. So for the recruiter that he was, DeAndre Jordan, because then, as Adrian Wojnarowski once said, the clean sweep that led to the franchise being under new management then happened in 2019. What's happened to both franchises since then, by the way?
It's the exact opposite of what any of us could have imagined. None of us could have imagined that.
Since then, yeah.
DeAndre Jordan sucked.
Yes, he did. For both franchises, by the way.
Yeah, he also kept Jared Allen down a little bit and may have led to Jared Allen being willfully included in the eventual trade for James Harden. So I don't have positive feelings towards DeAndre Jordan. I also don't necessarily credit him for the clean sweep. And again, I don't blame anybody. Like, I would have signed Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving 10 out of 10 days. Like, it was the right decision. It didn't work. And it didn't work for a myriad of reasons that we're not going to bore you with. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm not taking DeAndre Jordan. Boyan Bogdanovic was a good net. Like, he really was. And he was stashed for a couple of years. So I had heard of his name for a long time before he ever played for us. And then he got in LeBron's face. Like, he didn't give a crap. Like, he was a tough guy and just a really solid role player on some decent Nets teams. And we obviously got him back. I mean, he never played, but he's like, we got the return, I guess, of Bogdanovic, but good solid net. And I think when you look at the field of choices that I have, I think that one is a solid choice to round out my roster.
Helped the Knicks win a playoff game. I mean, he participated in more than one playoff game, but he was significant in one of the Sixers games.
It's both Sixers games. He had the first one. He had a decent. I know he took a lot of shots, but really it was more the gravity. Like, he helped spread the floor.
And he got hurt, and then he was out.
He got hurt in game 4, and then he never played another game for the Knicks. But game 2, I'll never forget it.
That's what it was. It was
Tom
game
Thibodeau
2.
Things. The Sixers went zone, and they immediately went on like a 6-0 or 9-0 run, and it cut like the Knicks deficit. It cut the Knicks need to like 2 or something. Tibbs then subs Bogey back in for Josh Hart for one of the games that Josh Hart actually sat in that series for a couple minutes, and Bogey hit 2 threes immediately, and that suddenly got rid of the zone. And it's like what I remember Bogey for, because those 29 regular season games, because they traded him from the Pistons, who had lost 30-something games in a row that season. And we were just saying throughout the back half of that season, when they were traded for Alec Burks and Bogey, who played like they were still on a 29 consecutive loss teams, we just need to survive the Pistons minutes, and then we can put our starters back in the game. That was the approach to the rest of the season. They both ended up having positive playoff contributions, but that's my memory of Bogey on the Knicks.
Plus 27 also in game 1. For whatever it's worth.
Game 1 and game 2, he was very essential, which is why he ends up leaving the Knicks with a positive thing, a reputation and memory. Man, the regular season was. John, we were having conversations are either play in the playoffs.
The Sixers game right out of the All-Star break, 6 for 6 from deep. I'll always
there you go.
That one
there you go. And you needed every win possible because they needed to get the 2 seed. So, I'll go with a friend of the pod for my last pick. I'll take Iman Shumpert.
Wow.
Former Knicks draft pick. When he got drafted, I thought they found, I guess, a point guard. And then we quickly realized that he wasn't a point guard. Thought he was going to be able to just play off of whoever the Knicks found at point guard as the number 2, was going to be a defensive stopper. Unfortunately, blew out his knee in the first round against the Heat in 2012. Was an essential defensive player on the team in 2013. And then Phil Jackson traded him and J.R. Smith to the Cavs. But Shump, for what I remember you for in 2013, that will be my last pick. Do you have any fond or any at all memory of Shump on the Nets?
I remember when they brought him in 20, it was more, I got nothing to lose. And I had mixed feelings because I never liked him as a Knick. He was annoying. Knicks tape. Dumbest
That's right,
thing ever.
Knicks tape. Yeah.
I found him to be the face of annoyance when it came to that really solid Knicks team. But when they brought him in, it was, remember, it was the early days of the Durant-Kyrie era, especially that first year where KD wasn't going to play. So it was more like, let's bring some vets in. Let's bring some guys who can defend in. So I didn't have any horrible feelings towards it, but he had a minimal impact.
Good job by you, by the way, bringing up Knicks tape. I know you're making fun of it. That was like a war cry, like the "We Here" that we had from a couple years ago. That was a war cry for a lot of Knicks fans. Yeah.
And Bing Bong and Knicks tape are the two dumbest things ever uttered.
I got nothing for you with Bing Bong. I never acknowledged it, but I understand there is like a version of a Knicks fan that grew up in the city and took public transportation a lot that takes Bing Bong as pride. Unfortunately, I associate bing bong with a season that went horribly wrong. But then we got Jalen Brunson, and now everything's better. So, John, the last pick of the draft.
Okay. If I was going to stick with the theme of my old guy team, I would take the correct pick here is Ray Williams, who, other than Stephon Marbury and Bernard King, is the only other player to play for both franchises and average 20 points a game for both franchises in at least one season, not careers for both franchises. Also had 2 stints with the Knicks and 2 stints with the Nets. I'm not going to take Ray Williams because I just have no relationship with Ray Williams. Also want to shout out some guys from my childhood, Hubert Davis, big time player for the 90s Knicks, and Chris Childs, who I think is probably the most underrated player from the second half.
Nobody took him.
I thought Childs was going to be the last pick.
He would be my next choice if I was not going to take a guy who I have to take him with my last pick because I've said it many times this year. I don't know where this year's Knicks would be without this guy. Best minimum contract signing in the league this year. And I'll be damned if, I don't know what the Knicks are going to do in the playoffs this year, but if I would bet anything that he is going to have some moments that will win them playoff games, plural, and that's Landry Shamet. So he's going to be my last pick.
It's fair. I mean, I was at the Garden. I was at the Garden for the playoff game last year, the Landry Shamet game, in which Madison Square Garden was rocking with Landry Shamet chants. And I'll tell you something funny. You guys will appreciate this. That was game 5. They were down 3-1, right? So it was a potential closeout game. And being the troll that I am, I went to that game with a Nets fan because we went to the funeral. We dressed in black. We went to see you guys get eliminated. And what did we get as diehard Net fans? 18,000 people chanting Landry Shamet's name. You can't make it up.
Oh God. I like Landry Shamet a lot. He's really grown on me this year. Last thing I want to say, I did not try to pull chicanery. It would have been funny if I tried to pull this in the last round and ask if executives were eligible for this draft, because if they were, I would have tried to take Dave DeBusschere, obviously a notable Knick player, but Andrew, you brought up DeAndre Jordan before, argument for maybe most important player for both, who was involved with both franchises because you helped bring KD to the Nets. Dave DeBusschere, an executive for the Nets for 1 year. He literally became their general manager a week after retiring as a Knicks player. And to your point before, Evan, about the merger and the whole thing, helped bring about the ABA NBA merger, because after he stepped down as Nets president, he was the president of the ABA for a year.
We also have Willis Reed, who is
also Willis Reed. I was looking to bring him up,
and Kiki Vandeweghe.
Of course, Kiki Vandeweghe. Who could forget Kiki Vandeweghe?
Who could forget?
Yeah.
I don't.
Any other player honorable mentions? My only one additional one that I wrote down was Nerlens Noel. If the draft got that far, because of the one season where, listen, when Mitchell Robinson went down, he was the backup center, at times the starting center for the Knicks in the We Here season. And it was just a positive contributor. Listen, when it got to what you mean to the Knicks, I had to stretch. But he's the only honorable mention at this point that I would.
Chris Dudley, I'd honorable mention.
Dudley is a good one. X-Man, Xavier McDaniel, Mike. Yeah, sorry.
Surprised you didn't say Wilson Chandler, John, for what the first half of 2010-11 means to you.
His name stuck out when I was looking at both lists. No, the only other 2 honorables I had are 2 old guys. Mike Woodson, former Knicks coach, was played for both teams, and then the only other or the forgotten about first overall pick in Knicks history, who nobody is going to know this name, but Art Heyman, first overall pick for the Knicks back in, I believe, the 60s, early 60s or late 50s or something, also played for.
Speaking of number 1 overall picks, not for either of our team, Andrea Bargnani.
Yeah. We'll do that next year when we do the dishonorable draft.
Oh, I got an honorable mention in all seriousness because he was a mascot for our team, Theo Pinson. He was a great mascot.
Theo!
If this draft went another couple of rounds, I was going to draft Theo Pinson.
All right, let's read our teams. Evan, you're 5.
How should I rate it, or you want me to announce?
No. We're reading. We are recapping the draft. Who are the 5 players you drafted?
So I've got Jason Kidd. I've got Keith Van Horn. I've got Kendon Barton. I've got Bojan Bogdanovic, and I've got Buck Williams. That's a team right there.
That's a good team.
I'm not going to try and do, what's the Knicks PA announcer's name, by the way, John? It's Mike
Douchey
right?
McDouchamson.
Hey, that man is a national treasure.
He is a national.
Okay?
I'm just kidding.
Or at least a local treasure. I don't know about a national treasure, but how dare you? I'm just going to read it the way I know how to read it. I went Anthony Mason 1, Jeremy Lin 2, Stephon Marbury 3, Mikal Bridges 4, Iman Shumpert 5. The Gen Z and millennial vote will definitely be mine.
I got Bernard King, Phil Jackson, Michael Ray Richardson, Bob McAdoo, and Landry Shamet. I'd like to see a 5-on-5 between my team and Evan's team.
Dude, my team would smoke you. I think, no offense, guys, my roster is a lot better, which proves my point. The Nets just have a better history than the Knicks.
Of players that played also for the Knicks. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So what?
You got me.
I think my team. Sorry, I think my team's winning. I got freaking a former MVP and then Bernard King.
I think and the Landry Shamet pick put you over the top.
That's clearly listen.
I'm just letting you know if any of these games were played against my team between mid-February 2012, my team wins because Jeremy Lin would be going through the greatest heater of all time, and none of your players also played for the Miami Heat, so nothing could stop it or put an end to Linsanity like the Miami Heat did.
There you go.
This was fun. Evan, thank you so much for joining us. Before you get out of here, please let the fine folks at home know where they can find you and all of your work.
Well, I am on WFAN at 10 a.m. and I think they YouTube our show now live. So
that's right. He's with us, John. Yeah,
that's right. I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
So I guess you could follow WFAN on YouTube and watch the show live. But personally, I prefer you listen on the radio because it's old school and it's cool. And I also host a Mets podcast, Rico Bronya. Oh, by the way, I'm mad at you.
What'd I do?
Because I saw you on my algorithm with another guy, and the other guy said Evan Roberts didn't want Carlos Beltran's number retired.
I corrected him. Not true. It didn't make the clip, but I corrected him. Okay. You came on Knicks Film School and said that you have to do it. I added the context. It just didn't make the clip.
Because like everything in life, things are complicated. What I've always said about Beltran is that I would want his number retired if he goes in the Hall of Fame as a Met. If he doesn't, then I wouldn't retire his number. Simple as that. He is now going in the Hall of Fame as a Met. Bang! Number retirement.
Agreed.
So thank you then for clarifying.
I did clarify. Shout out to Rich McLeod, shout out to Just Mets, and shout out to Rico Bronya. What you learn now that you're in the YouTube world, we can all coexist. We're not competitors. So
I agree.
We're allowed to be on the same algorithm. John, anything you'd like to plug, like the Knicks Film School post-game show after will hopefully be another Knicks victory tonight?
Yeah, sure. Watch that. I'm just looking at WFAN's YouTube page. There's a Mike Francesa tab.
What is there?
Literally looking at it right now, dude. I'm not making this shit up.
He's a legend. I mean, of course.
Okay. How old is this YouTube channel?
It's the WFAN YouTube channel.
But they might have just had a YouTube channel way back when.
Oh, sorry. I didn't look at the dates. 7 years ago.
There you go. That's what it is.
You know what? I know if I have an extra 10 minutes today, I know what content I'm consuming.
There you go. Not Evan and Tiki, apparently.
No, not us.
No, I want to see what Mike Francesa had to say. Mike Francesa Twitter Q&A. This has
oh my gosh,
7 years ago.
You know, back then, I think Joel Embiid was still a can. Oh no, wait, it still was even further. That Joel
stop it.
Well.
Yes.
You can check that out, or you can check out Evan and Tiki or the fine other programming like Craig Carton, like Boomer and Gio in the morning. And Tommy, friend of the pod. He's also in the evenings now. That's right. Big Knicks fans.
He's a delusional Knicks fan, but he's a Knicks fan.
Well, no other kind, Evan, that exists. Hopefully the Knicks do damage tonight in Brooklyn when they take on the Nets. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you dug it, please head over to our YouTube channel. Leave a 5-star. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're listening. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. I'll be back next week because I'm not previewing the Wizards, and I don't want to talk about the greatest players that played for the Knicks and the Wizards this weekend. I'd rather go outside. But until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Let's go Knicks, and I'll speak with you soon. Peace. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatic Sportsbook app.